China, art is almost sacred. Artists are revered, and they have traditionally enjoyed a much greater freedom of speech than other citizens.
The total political condition in China, it's just everywhere is the same. There's no sense of any individuality.
Ai Weiwei is one of China's most famous artists.
To me, art is freedom. It's a place you can get away from the normal daily activities.
Artists like Ai Weiwei have wielded significant political power. But as China continues a headlong rush to develop economically, these artists are being bullied, their property bulldozed, by developers who want their land and who are backed by the government. Brothers Gao Zhen and Gao Qiang make installation pieces, sculptures, and paintings. Their studio in Beijing was demolished.
We had a 6-year contract when we rented this place. We thought there wouldn't be any problem for us to stay there. But in just 2 years, we were told it would be torn down.
Something similar happened to Guo Jian. He has been forced to move 3 times in the last year. Guo last moved to Songzhuang, a town an hour outside of Beijing. But if the artists live on land that developers covet, they face quick eviction.
And I thought Songzhuang is one of the places they're definitely going to protect this place. But then I just realized this place, it's one of the places they're definitely going to demolish as well.
The local government is turning Songzhuang into an artist community to attract tourists. But the high real estate prices are already drawing developers. And this neighborhood, built just 5 months ago, is slated for destruction.
That's how a lot of developers, they want artists to go to some place to make the place beautiful or famous, and then they can sell more money.
Artist communities all over China are being destroyed, one after another. Developers are looking for higher rents, and some say government officials are complicit.
When you look at China now today, it's really like the day before, like communist. Before they got the power, same thing. So the corruption is everywhere. It's huge, and people get anger, more anger.
This is Lingling Ba, in English 008. Not long ago, it was a thriving artist village on the outskirts of Beijing. Not anymore. The artists say they were violently evicted. Now Chinese artists are fighting back using 008 as a battle cry. They were led in part by this man, Wu Yuren. A photographer and installation artist, Wu resisted the evictions in 008. Canadian Karen Patterson is Wu's wife. She says her husband contested the land seizures from the time he got his first eviction notice in 2009.
The artists were, a lot of them refusing to leave, and then that's when they cut the power.
When cutting the electricity didn't force the artist out, Karen says tensions started to build. And one night, Wu drove home to find many of his neighbors covered in blood, fighting off an assault from a group of men who seemed to come out of nowhere. The artist feels sure the men were sent by the developers.
Somebody at the development company or something decided that the best way to get rid of the artists would be to send in about 80 thugs with metal pipes and just add some violence. So they did. They did at about 2 in the morning. On the morning of February 22nd.
A friend of Wu shot this video. The artists say men wearing masks to disguise their identities used metal pipes and bricks to beat them and destroy their studios. Some had to be hospitalized for their injuries. Artist Liu Yi suffered permanent hearing loss and had to use a wheelchair for days after the beating.
I was using my phone to dial the police. I dialed it earlier twice, but the police hadn't arrived yet, so I dialed again. Then the thugs grabbed my phone, and I was running after my phone. The head guy then called the thugs to beat me with sticks, metal bats, and pipes. I couldn't remember what happened then. I just fell on the ground.
The police arrived long after the intruders left and didn't take any action. Wu Yuren and some of his neighbors wanted justice. They sought advice from highly regarded artist and political activist Ai Weiwei.
He come to me one day with blood on, with another artist, blood all come from their head and their faces, and tell me the story. One night before, they were beaten by about 100 unknown guys trying to kick them out of their studio and, just try to scare them.
Wu told Ai he and the other artist activists were planning a protest near Tiananmen Square after the raid on 008.
So they decided they have to do some demonstration. I said, okay, I go with you.
Ai Weiwei is known for supporting dissidents, and he's had his own tangles with the government. He's been beaten by police, put under house arrest, and the government has installed cameras outside of his home to monitor his movements. In fact, while we were at his compound, police visited, and we had to stop the interview for an hour while he met with them.
I've been treated unfairly. You have to let your voice out, let other people know it. Otherwise, how can you, you cannot just be silent about it. So the best way is to walk in somewhere people can notice it.
So I agreed to be part of Wu's protest. On February 22nd, Wu and his fellow artists staged a march on Chang'an Avenue, which leads through the heart of Beijing to Tiananmen Square. This was one of the few protests here since the demonstrations in 1989 led to bloodshed. The artists carried banners and spoke out against the land seizures and demolition of their homes. Ai Weiwei took this video of the march. The protest lasted just a few minutes before it was stopped by police. You can see Wu Yuren in red pants arguing with the policemen. While the protest didn't save 008, the displaced artists were given compensation, something many of them feel was a direct result of their march towards Tiananmen Square. But months later, say Wu's supporters, the government retaliated. On July 2nd, Wu Yuren was at a police station to help with a friend's legal problem, but it was Wu that was arrested. Police say he pushed away a video camera during a police interview and assaulted an officer. He was charged with both crimes.
When we showed up in the car, Dawu happened to be standing in the window, and he was holding his arm, and he said, I've been beat, and we need to talk. And I thought, okay. So then I thought, well, I'll just go around and go into the police station and go talk to him.
Police wouldn't let Karen see her husband, who she believes is being punished for his activism. She has vowed to fight for his freedom.
They can't always get away with what they do. And this time maybe more so, because maybe when they were beating Wu Yuren, they didn't realize that his wife is a Canadian citizen.
If Wu's convicted, he'll face a prison sentence of 6 months to 3 years.
So I think this is going to be like a crazy day. Very, lots going on, lots to talk about.
Today, the judge will hear testimony from Wu and 3 police officers.
Run away and at a bear bounce around.
Karen hopes her campaign for Wu's freedom will help her to explain to her daughter, when she's older, why her father was arrested.
In the future, maybe she asks, what was that all about? I can say, this is what it was about, and this is why I did this, this, and this. So what maybe you can do when you come home is you can draw another picture or something for Baba, okay? And then you can say that this is what I drew on the day of your court date, because he'll remember that. So even though we don't get to see Baba, we can think about Baba, have Baba in our heart, yeah?
Karen has been outspoken to the press about her husband's imprisonment. She drives to the courthouse an hour outside Beijing, where dozens of journalists wait. She wasn't sure if she'd be allowed into the hearing, but she is. This is the first time she's been in the same room as her husband since he was detained. We must wait outside, and in the crowd we see Liu Yi, no longer in need of a wheelchair. Liu is worried about being arrested himself, but wants to be here to support Wu and his cause.
I think these things are quite common. In China, artists aren't a weak group, but at a relatively high level of the society. So you would figure how bad it could be to the weak groups in China, given that such things happen to the group who are strong.
And we talk with Do Pu, a friend of Wu's who's come to show his support.
I don't feel safe in the country I'm living in. I'm afraid, but I felt I should still come today.
4 hours later, Wu Yuren leaves in a police van. Karen comes outside to speak with reporters.
No, he's not handcuffed, but he's wearing like issue, so gray thing with a black shirt. And we both looked at each other and we're like, he's cool. That part was cool. But it's hard because there's so much, this almost ocean of information that is missing between us being able to talk. And so it's sad that we haven't been able to at least have 1 or 2 meetings in the last 6 months.
The judge has agreed to review more evidence, but a final hearing and Wu's sentencing could still be several months away.
It's horrible, and it's not just that it's my husband, it's that this sort of stuff happens a lot, all the time. And so today, for most of us, coming out is a voice, but it's also a voice for the people who have no voice or access to Beijing or Western media or something like that.
If anything, growing tensions between the art community and China's leadership are making artists here more vocal.
For a long time, actually, people living in a sort of a place or environment which is like, I don't care. This is not my business. I don't want the troubles. But today it's totally different. Why? Because the troubles actually come to you now.
Guo Jian says he'll continue to speak out, especially through his art. His next exhibition will feature a diorama with bulldozers destroying Tiananmen Square.
This place like demolitions of site and also like a war zone as well. I always joke with my friends. I say, okay, if you demolish my place, I'm going to demolish your place as well.
The Gao brothers aren't letting harassment stop them either. The government has confiscated their works, shut off the electricity in their studios, and arrested their associates. Still, the Gaos continue to use their art for self-expression and as a political tool.
而我们呢觉得，中国正处在一个巨大的变革之中。
We think China is changing a lot now, so we shouldn't just enjoy our life in small tastes, but use our art to witness, to trigger, and motivate the society's changes.
I do have a little responsibility because my father's generation failed. They never really successfully made their voice. And I don't want it to happen to the later generation. You know, I'm here now and I can do something about it, and I will.
Earlier this year, Ai Weiwei's Shanghai studio was demolished, but he's not deterred.
I think China eventually will become a democratic society, have much freedom for the young people who want to learn more information, who can build up their knowledge structure and to meet the competition and to have a better life. This is, nobody can stop it. It's just a matter of time.
Wu Yuren's wife is not so sure.
And if you looked at what the economy's done in 31 years, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Everyone's richer, something like that. But when you look back at the treatment of prisoners or people that are just about to be sentenced, I don't think so. Maybe the walls are a better construction material, or the guards have better uniforms, or something like that, but the ruthlessness of the system, I think, still exists.
A year after he protested near Tiananmen Square against the demolition of his home, Wu Yuren remains in jail. Wu's old neighborhood, 008, is a pile of rubble. Workers here told us construction has already begun on an apartment complex, one of many that are being built to capitalize on China's real estate boom. Karen continues to campaign for her husband's release. Land seizures are one of the biggest causes of social unrest in China, and Karen says her husband is not alone.
This sort of brutality is kind of not really random, but it's it can happen anytime, anywhere, to anybody.
That's something the art community has learned firsthand and has vowed to fight despite the cost.